Welcome to the Witness Without Identity channel, guys. I want to talk about a wonderful video by Kulinski, and Kyle Kulinski is one of my favorite YouTuber. I really like it. I think you guys should subscribe to his channel. It's pretty good. He talked about the left in infighting, and I totally agree with him. Totally agree with him. He's 100% correct about this. There's nothing we can say. We cannot say that it's not true. So basically, so Kyle Kulinski here is discussing that, you know, some people on the left, they trying to hold the people to the left accountable, which is good, but he's not feeling it, like the way, the intensity of the criticism of those people. So look at the video. I'm gonna elaborate more after it. Thank you.
You know, for a long time, I've wanted to talk about this issue, and I guess I never found the right opportunity, or I just didn't. That's actually not the right way to put it. I didn't really think to just come out here and talk about it on its own merits. I guess I was sort of looking for a news hook to talk about it, but that's not even really necessary. You could talk about this at any time, because honestly, the dynamic that we're about to talk about is playing out all day, everywhere. I mean, you see this online, you see this in your own life and with your own friends and acquaintances. You see this with the kind of, you know, left-wing groups you belong to, whether you're some sort of an activist and working on specific issues, or whether you're in a union or whatever it might be. The dynamic that I'm about to talk about is incredibly pervasive, and it's unfortunate. It is unfortunate. So you could probably see over my shoulder here this meme that I tweeted out, and I think it's so accurate, and I think all of you know exactly what it's referring to without me even having to say another word. So, leftist infighting. Leftist infighting. We do tend to eat our own more than the right does. Now, maybe that's changing. You know, there's this whole, what's his name, Nick Fuentes or something like that, going around basically saying we need to destroy the Republican Party and don't vote for Loeffler and Perdue, and these people need to stand up and fight for Trump more. And, you know, maybe on the horizon we will see a situation in which it's like this on the right, where they're at each other's throats all the time. But I do get the sense, based on anecdotal evidence and my own perception, that, yeah, the left does kind of eat its own more often. Now, you can make the argument that that's actually a positive thing in this sense, in the sense that it shows you're willing to be more individualistic, you're willing to have more free thought, and you're willing to have nothing held sacred. And so you're always going to tell the truth as you see it, even if it means throwing people who are supposed to be your friends under the bus. So there's one interpretation of it, which is like, it's just positive. It's positive that we're always willing to stand by whatever our beliefs are. But there is a flip side of it, and the flip side of it is it does make it so easy to divide and conquer the left, and it does make it much less likely that we're going to be able to achieve our goals, assuming we agree on the goals. And we can always be sort of a beaten down, fractured mess as long as we let ourselves be that, and we'll be politically impotent and ineffectual as a result of that. So you could say there's upsides to it, you could say there's downsides to it. But there are two principles, in my opinion, that you have to balance when talking about this. One is, and this is just me, I know a lot of you guys disagree with me, but I really do try my best to always assume good intent unless proven otherwise. So I need to see basically overwhelming evidence that proves that somebody's not acting with good intent in order for me to acknowledge that and treat them like a hostile, nefarious actor. Okay? And I don't think that that's necessarily something that I see from other people, or at least not to the extent I'd like to see it. I can't put numbers on it, but there are many people on the left who the first thing they do is they go right to, this person has bad intentions, and this person is nefarious, and this person has ulterior motives that are leading them to say the things they say and believe the things they believe. I feel like Occam's razor is you always default to assuming whoever you're talking to, who's your friend on the left, is telling you what they really believe. And so if there is some sort of disagreement, some sort of disconnection, if there's no continuity between what they're doing and what you're doing, it makes sense to be sympathetic and empathetic and to like try to understand where they're coming from, even if it happens to be, on an issue that you thought was really not even debatable. And that's one that I do struggle with as well myself, that if people start debating things that I didn't really think were ever debatable, then I'm like, really? Like, we got to go all the way back to this step and have this conversation? It's annoying. It's frustrating. It's a little obnoxious, but it's also life. This is what human beings are like. You can't just assume everybody's already where you are, on all these issues. You have to, the burden's on you, the onus is on you to lay out on the merits of your argument as to why you're correct and why other people on the left need to join you. So I really do my best to assume good intent until evidence proves otherwise. And actually, if you really think about it, that's why I never really made a habit of going after other people in this space who are nominally on the left. Because I got the sense that even if they come after me in a way that I think is bordering on unfair, if I think that the criticism is coming from a sincere place, I'm like, okay, it is what it is. I disagree. I'll argue the other side. I'll tell you why I think that's ridiculous, but I'm not going to throw you under the bus or go nuclear, because if I think the criticism is coming from a good place, you get a full pass on intentions, which means I'm not going to treat you like you're the enemy. I would like to see that from everybody in this space, and I would like to see that from everybody in leftist circles. I really would. Now, the two competing things here are, so on the one hand, I think it makes sense to always assume good intent until evidence proves otherwise when dealing with people who are ideologically somewhat in agreement with you. But sometimes that butts up against another principle. And the other principle is holding politicians accountable. So let's loop in the conversation we had in the last show about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and trying to force a vote on Medicare for all. And honestly, it's not just her, right? Like, it's not just her. It's anybody should step up on this front. Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Pramila Jayapal, Mark Pocan, Ro Khanna. You can go on, naming the people who, like, okay, you guys, any one of you really should sort of take the lead on this. But so the fact that she's not where we are on this, where most of us are if you're watching this right now, and she doesn't want to force a vote on Medicare for all, I think she's wrong. I think her position, honestly, is kind of silly when you get into the specifics of it, and she hilariously thinks like, well, you guys haven't thought it out. No, I've thought it out quite a bit, actually. Quite a bit. But do I think she's not agreeing with me because she's a bad person, or she's nefarious, or she's sold out? Or no, I don't. I don't at all. I think that she really believes, and all the other Justice Democrats really believe, that if you play a tit-for-tat game with Pelosi and leadership, if you go along to get along to some extent, if you keep the negotiations behind closed doors when you talk to them, and you don't threaten to leverage your vote, I think they think they'll get more results for the left in the long run if they take that approach. So I think it's a sincere belief. I think it's also a belief that's basically been tainted by the fact that all the Justice Democrats are now creatures of Washington. That's where they are. That's the water they swim in. So it's kind of, they've gotten Washington brain a little bit. So I think their lack of the continued outsider perspective is leading them in this direction, but I think they sincerely believe it. You know what I mean? And as soon as we start going after their intentions, well, then the whole thing blows up, and then they don't view you as an honest actor trying to help them to get to our desired end goal. They view you now as one of the enemies. And so we don't want to go nuclear and have all the lines of communication break down, because then everybody loses. And then, the right and the centrists, the corporatists, can laugh to perpetual victory, because they know as long as you do divide and conquer, as long as the left is fractured, they're never going to get anything accomplished. They're never going to get anything done. But I think the main point of talking about this, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up, is that I actually don't think that those two principles are at odds with each other, and I don't think there's a contradiction there. I think, as a general rule, you can assume good intent from other leftists, unless overwhelming evidence proves otherwise. But you can also take a stance of, as soon as somebody becomes a politician, now it's my job to hold them accountable. And even if I like them, even if I agree with them on the overwhelming majority of stuff, they're now a politician and I'm their boss. And so I'm going to hold them accountable no matter what. Both of those things can happen at the same time. I can understand that those who might disagree with me on the strategy mean well, but I could also be like, you're dead wrong on this, and sit down and let me explain why. Let me break it down for you. Let me give you all the details. Let me give you all the nuances of the argument. Let me tell you how if we win, but also if we lose, we win, because this is what the Tea Party did, and these tactics of the Tea Party to be ruthless and always on the offense and taking no shit, how that moved the Overton window and got more victories for their side. That's what we need to do. So I don't need to malign intent, and I don't need to attack people as people to, to get my point across. And I actually think in the long run, you do kind of build that leftist unity that's necessary if you treat everybody like honest actors. You know what I mean? And again, that doesn't mean that when we disagree, we don't discuss it. We don't hash it out. You have to do that because we have to figure out what answer is the correct answer. And then once we come up with that correct answer, everybody should get on the same page. But we could also just generally assume good intent for others who are in this space. And unfortunately, I don't think that happens that much. So I guess this is my cry. This is my plea. And I'm not doing this segment in order to, direct it at any one person in particular, any one other host.
So as you have seen, okay, so Carl Kulinski is discussing that, okay, there's an infighting going on, especially as you know, I'm bringing up Jimmy Dore. So Jimmy Dore on the left, when he goes after AOC, Ilhan Omar, and all those people, he puts them on the same level, on the same spectrum as those hardcore right-wing Democrats. So AOC right now is a corporatist. AOC is a neoliberal, according to Jimmy Dore. I think in one video, I think he said that she's even worse than a neoliberal. That is very dangerous. Once you go into that direction, because now you don't know what to make a difference. It's kind of like the Republicans are calling everybody socialist. Joe Biden's a socialist. That doesn't make sense. So you see what I'm saying? So we have to be careful with the conversation, and I think that's what Carl Kulinski is encouraging us to do. We don't want to just keep calling everybody a neoliberal. Ocasio-Cortez, Carl Kulinski say that we have to make sure that the person's intent is nefarious before we start to go nuclear on the person. We don't go nuclear yet. We have to, like Nancy Pelosi, you can go nuclear on Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer. They've been in office for many years, and they specifically don't believe in medical fraud. They specifically believe in helping corporations. That's different. That's what Carl Kulinski is saying. But if somebody like AOC that doesn't take corporate donation, you cannot look at somebody like that and say that, oh no, she's a neoliberal. You have to watch what she's doing in the water. And I understand that some people say that she voted for the CARES Act, which was like a great like a welfare for the rich. And I understand that that's a bad move. I understand that maybe it was a mistake by AOC. I want to read more about that. But Carl is right. You want to have like a balance. You want to criticize a person, keep their foot to the fire, but not totally go nuclear on them. And I totally agree with Carl on this one. Good job, Carl. I really agree with you. And this is the way that the country can become a better place where we can have a better conversation. And I'm fascinated by Carl because he understands that the fact that you need things and the fact that you have to be strong and persevere does not mean that you got to shoot and blast everything that's on your way. You got to be careful. Because let's be honest. What's the difference between a lot of time a smart person and a dumb person? The dumb person is their mind is simple. So the dumb person look at all black people, they say all bad things about black people. They look at all Chinese people, they say all Chinese people are bad. That's the dumb person. That's the way they look at it. They look at race, they are racist. They talk about transgender people bad, all of them. You know what I'm saying? And that's what Jimmy Dore is kind of he's doing a little bit. I don't think he knows that he's doing that, but it feels like that because you're putting everybody in the same box and you're not discerning the right from wrong. You have to be able to discern. It's kind of like not all white people are bad, you know, not all black people are bad. So he's not discerning it correctly. So what makes somebody sharp is that when you shop, you can see that, okay, this is somebody that has a different ideology than this person, even though they are in the same party. This is AOC is not Nancy Pelosi. You can understand that, you know. So that's it. Thank you. Please subscribe to my channel. I will talk about this more. This is getting interesting. So Jimmy Dore is encouraging the progressive to hold a vote on Nancy Pelosi so that she can not be the Speaker of the House. That's a pretty bold move. I like it, but I don't like the method. I don't like the language. You know. Take care. Bye.